quite interested actually what your opinion was on Remo. We figured that it should have deserved to have been far more successful than it was. It's a great, great, entertaining film, hugely exciting and very funny.
It really is. It really is difficult when you have 12 producers.
So how many there were?
Yeah. I mean, you know, they're just absolutely endless. They have a system in America. I mean, this was Iran before it went bust, and I mean, it really is amazing. Everybody, including the cat, comes in with notes, and they go through with the story editors. And I mean, it's just boring, boring, boring. Yeah. And that really gets in the way.
But I mean, nobody really pushed it, did they?
No.
No.
That's, you know, part of the trouble, because Iran were going broke at the time, and they were, you know, nervous about. Well, they hadn't got the loot to push.
If I don't respond to you, I would like, because obviously I'm trying to keep my voice up a little bit. If you obviously could try and work my question into your answer, then that way we can cut me out altogether.
Then you can do
get rid of my boring nasal tone.
Possible, we can just take the volume up just a fraction. That's all.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah,
Reason.
Right.
We're off.
After the success of Dr. No from Russia with Love, with Terence Young at the helm, when did you first become involved with the film Goldfinger?
Well, actually, I was asked to do Dr. No by Cubby, and I couldn't for personal reasons. I'd come back from Rome, and I had all sorts of... I couldn't leave the country, in other words. And I do remember Cubby saying to me, but don't worry, because there are a lot of silly things in the script that we're going to change. And I said, but Cubby, whatever you do, don't change it, because that's what makes Bond so marvellous. It's the nonsense, you know, go with it. I don't know how I became involved again in Broccoli and Saltzman called me and said, would you like to do Goldfinger? I'd seen Dr. No, I'd seen Russia, and I had one feeling, having seen those two pictures, that there was a terrible danger of Bond becoming Superman. That seemed to me to be, it was edging that way, because Bond is as good as his villains, and Goldfinger had the basis of a very good script. And I said, yes, please. And off we went. The English side of it, I was in the Navy during the war as an OD and as an officer, and I rather cared about the naval aspect of Commander Bond. And Dick Maybaum was not exactly the hottest thing on two legs about the governor of the Bank of England and all that sort of thing. And I worked with Paul Dane to get those things working. This script was fun to work on. Harry and Cubby were very important at that time, because Harry was interested in gizmos, props, locations. You must remember that Harry's a circus man. That's the, and he's absolutely frightening. You say, I'm going away on holiday where there are no telephones, Harry. Where have you been? You've never heard of it. It's a little place called Stum in, oh, I know that. I was stuck there with 50 elephants and no food, and we had to get the train going. There's nowhere in Europe that Harry hasn't been with some vast circus going broke, because, and that's the elephants. When you are in trouble, he discovered that you've got to spend money on the elephants. People want that as a circus. Harry at that time, Bond to him was a circus. You've got to give the public a show. Give them something interesting. Cubby was very keen on the girls. Ursula is a typical example of wonderful casting. ditto in Russia. Everything was beginning to come, the two personalities, and they were, Cubby and Harry were complementary. It was very difficult to tell them what you'd written that day or discuss it, because if it wasn't about girls, sex and laughs, Cubby wouldn't listen. Harry would be on the phone talking, because he was very quick on the uptake and knew exactly how you were leading the scene. So we'd get rather expert at telling the story individually to one or the other. This is what we want to do. And fool Harry, and then he'd like that. He'd say, yeah, the crocodile's under the seat. No, Harry, comes down from the ceiling. Ah, I like that. That's how the scripts were put together.
On Goldfinger then, did you consciously set out to make the style different from those two?
Yes, a little bit, because I mean, I think I had a wonderful chance in that, having seen the strengths and weaknesses of Dr. No, the strengths and weaknesses of Russia, which I think is a super picture. I mean, it's improved. You see, people laughed in a lot of the wrong places in Dr. No, and Terry and co were very upset, and they pulled themselves together very rapidly, and Russia's a super picture. I had before me examples of what to do or what not to do. So as I say, making Bond the best villains I could find, that was the thing to me. And I realized that taking Dr. No himself, the intellectual villain who could sit down and have a conversation with Bond on a certain height, and then you needed the heavy gang. And you sort of move towards the, now Mr. Bond, I'm terribly sorry that you have to be removed. I do hate the sight of blood, so you will excuse me while we'll hand you over to Fred or Charlie. And it's how to make Fred or Charlie more interesting. So Odd Job was, I saw on Saturday afternoon, there used to be wrestling. And sure enough, on came Odd Job. And everybody booed, and he was the villain, and he shook his fist, and it was a little bit amateurish compared to what goes on now. But that was the start of Odd Job, and I said, you know, I saw Odd Job on Saturday. We chased him down through some promotions and interviewed him. So that was the basis of the intellectual villain and the heavy gang.
So I was going to ask you that how involved were you with casting on the pictures that you worked on the Bond pictures?
You're always involved a lot. I mean, it's a question of coming up with suggestions, and the girls are a problem, because the Bond I wanted to do, I mean, I was asked to do Thunderball. I said no, but I would like to do On Her Majesty's, because I think that's the best book. And I have a terrific idea for casting. Bond is now at the height of his powers. He's a god. The book is a French girl. Bond can only marry a goddess. And Bridget Bardot is the obvious connection. What a tremendous idea. Then off they went and they talked to United Artists, and they said, no, don't you realize that if we have a star, lady star for Bond, Next time round we will have to have Faye Dunaway, and after that we will have to have Jane Fonda, and after that Garbo. I mean, it'll be, all the money goes into the props, all the money goes into the action sequences. So the family rule was that you never had actresses or lady stars, and you were lumbered, no question about it, with bimbos. Let's face the, most of them couldn't act their way out of a paper bag, and you had to make absolutely certain that you never gave them scenes to, you know, dialogue to. They were difficult. We used to do tests, endless tests. I mean, every agent in the world would send a pretty girl along, and eventually they had to be tested, and they were just, I mean, some of the unhappiest times I have spent have been testing these very pretty ladies, and they're all enchanting, but there's a difference between being a model girl and an actress. Occasionally you put your foot down and said no. I mean, I used to make, in these tests, I used to deliberately make obstacle courses, you know, so the girl who was nervous anyway would come in, and I'd give her a drink in one hand, a cigarette in the other, make her light it, say the words, and I mean, she's cross-eyed with props, and print it, and then say, you know, Harry, Cubby, come on, you know, you're joking, and get away with it.
So taking that into consideration, who was your favourite Bond girl actress to work with?
Oh, I enjoyed working with them all. I mean, Shirley Eaton I'd worked with before, and was a very, you know, I thought, because it's not a part. I mean, the poor darling comes on, gets painted gold, and boing. She a lot of effect, and she has one cute scene which she plays very cutely. Honor Blackman I knew well, and wanted somebody who could stand up to Bond. And I think Honor does that splendidly. Tanya Mallet, a very nice person, difficult because she's not an actress, you know, so you have to keep her running and chop her head off as soon as you can. All the Bond ladies I'm fond of. They, you know, because you do the best you can with them, and they do the best for you.
Why do you think so many people look upon Goldfinger as being the definitive Bond film?
I have no idea. You must ask them that.
I tend to think it's because lots of things came together and it was all just...
Yes, I mean, I think that what I was saying earlier, that it became fairly easy, having got two splendid sort of... Bond was finding his way. We also had more money to spend, more time. The producers are less nervous. We knew the fun of Bond is you didn't have to introduce, of Goldfinger, you didn't have to introduce Moneypenny, you didn't have to introduce characters. You can go right into it. To me, the pre-credits are so important because that sets the mood in which I, the director, want you to look at the picture. In other words, look at this. If this makes you laugh, excites you, amuses you, entertains you, right, hold on, I got lots more like this. Leave your brains under the seat, come for a gorgeous ride. Don't stop and ask questions. I mean, if you want to know how did Bond know that he was on blah, blah. I know the answer to that, but it's very long and boring, and you don't want to hear it. We'll move straight on. This is the mood in which, and I think audiences like that. I mean, this is, they knew what was going to happen next. I talked to you about the snake pit situation. This is what Tom and I used to work on so hard. You've got to put Bond in a snake pit situation. And it's fun to watch intelligent men spending days on end. It's very easy to forget the snake pit situation. Is how does he get out? And Tom would say, well, supposing the night watchman happens, no, the night watchman does not happen to be passing Tom. You've got to do better than that. And we had 2 or 3 snake pit situations which we've never used because we couldn't think of a good enough way to get him out. What you do is you put him in the snake pit and you must play fair. You say there's a 2-foot box, there's a 3-foot crate, there's 9 inches of string and a hammer. And the snakes are coming in and it's 14 foot high. Come on children, I'll give you 30 seconds to guess how he gets out. And they're all, I know that. Oh, Bond's in trouble now. You see, it's no answer. And then of course you shoot the bum with the hammer, da-da. And they all cheer and yell and say how brilliant. It took us 4 months to work that out, and I gave you 30 seconds. So that's the fun of the snake pit situation.
Everything in this background, so I'm not worried about that.
It should be okay, so we should be able to boost this up.
Obviously, when you came to Goldfinger, that was your first Bond film.
Yeah.
Sean Connery had already been in 2. I mean, did he profit any sort of advice? Obviously.
No, I think Sean was much more confident. I mean, he'd really was. I think there's a difference in the performance of Sean from Dr. No to Goldfinger. It's very apparent. He's matured not only in age, but in the amount of footage under his bottom that shows on the screen.
Are you surprised, annoyed at all that the Bond films have only ever won 2 Oscars and they've never won anything Oscar-wise for direction, musical score and art direction?
Oh, definitely not, no. I mean, they're not really Oscar-type material. They come out of UK. There's a minor jealousy thing around there, I think. No, that doesn't worry me at all, and I think it's sort of perfectly normal.
One of English parents, but in France.
Yeah, I mean it's a pure accident in that my father was in the British Embassy in Paris, that's all.
So when they named you Guy, was that the English guy or was it Guy?
No, it was the English guy.
It was the English guy. Just a curious guy. Right. You also had a reputation for placing the camera well. What's the first thing you look for when you're lining up the shot? You know, particularly in a Bond film.
Storytelling. I mean, the reason you move the camera is for a reason, and every shot is sort of really helping to tell the story or show the actor off to it. There's a different problem with Bond. The scripts are grossly overloaded. There's about anybody else would make a 4-hour picture out of it. And it was quite funny because Peter Hunt overran desperately with on Her Majesty's, and they had to chop an awful lot out, and Bond runs on grind, you know, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12 midnight in America and things like that. So the rule is they've got to be under 2 hours. They've got to be under 2 hours. And I had to sign in my contract when I came back to do Diamonds that it had to be under 2 hours. The script of Diamonds, is about 3 hours. And so you have to discipline yourself in how you shoot. I have the Duchess, Ellen Shrake, who's a sensational continuity lady. And she's very good at timing my scripts. I mean, we've done so many pictures before that she knows my style, and she can time a script to within 5-6 minutes. And so each scene has 1.5 minutes to play this scene. So I'd come on the floor and say, right, I like this Ken Adams set. Let us start on this whiskey bottle, come past this very pretty girl's bottom and on to Sean, and we start the scene. How long does that run, Elaine? 3.5 minutes. How long have we got for this scene? 1.5 minutes. We start on Sean. You have to discipline yourself that away. And I'm pleased to say that I don't think there's any scene in any of the Bonds that ended on the cutting room floor. I can't think of one. Now, Harry sent for me and went screaming mad one day and said, "You son of a bitch, the picture's 2 hours." I said, "But that's in the contract, Harry." And he says, "Yes, but the time we got the credit titles on." I said, "That's your worry, not mine. Make them shorter." And it was 1 hour 55, 59, 55 I turned in. So getting on with it is one of the rules of Bond. You can't hang about because the scripts are so packed with goodies.
One scene that I do remember reading, I've seen some stills of that was cut. In Diamonds Are Forever, there's a sequence where Bond has an evening meal or something like that with plenty of two. Does that ring a bell to you?
No, I tell you, it was a little something with Sammy Davis Jr., who was mad about Bond. He was madly keen. He was a Bond aficionado, and he was working in Vegas when we were there and said, "I got to be in the picture. I got to be in the picture. I got to be in the picture." So we dreamt up something where he's walking through the casino and there was a gag or something. It wasn't very funny. It wasn't sort of very anything, and I mean, we shot it in an hour. Sammy wasn't paid, he just wanted to be in it. And it wasn't doing Sammy any favours. Had it been left in the picture, people would have said, for why. He wasn't very good. Yes, I can remember that. Can't remember anything else, really. You might be right.
Thank you. The fight sequence in Goldfinger between Bond and Oddjob, did that take a long time to shoot? And was there a great deal of stunt doubling done for Sean Connery?
It didn't take longer to shoot than, yeah, it was a big set. I think we overran by a couple of days on the whole set. Yes, there was doubling because I can't remember my mother's name, but the original double for Sean, who originally did Bob Simmons. Bob Simmons, as he got older, got shorter and shorter, and Sean got taller and taller. And I mean, as a double, it was a disgrace. I mean, it was a lovely thing, but and in the fight, Bob said, "I'll do this, I'll do that." And I said, "But you're about smaller than Oddjob at the moment." So we got another stunt boy who was about Sean's size, but very stiff, and he had a longish neck, and there are a couple of shots of him in there. Because Oddjob is it's very difficult to. Oddjob is hard. I mean, was a wrestler. Yes, he was good at throwing his punches and things, but you can't go take after take throwing somebody around. It's unfair to the actor. I mean, people don't understand this doubling thing. I mean, Sean is not afraid of heights, will do anything, and I would never ask an actor to do anything I wouldn't do myself. But you jump off this table, you slip, now we can't shoot for a fortnight because you've got a sprained ankle. It isn't that the actor won't jump off this table, it is that he's got new shoes on. It's always a factor of new shoes, and the bottoms haven't been scuffed properly, or the props have gone and polished the damn thing just before you shoot, and slip, fall, broken arm, sprain, anything, and that is terrible for the production. So that's why, to a large extent, you use stunt doubles.
Talking about heights, in Diamonds Are Forever, that sequence where Sean Connery's on top of the lift.
Yeah.
And it looks very much as though it's actually shot with him going.
Yes, yes. I mean, he wasn't too enthusiastic because it got a bit windy when it up there.
I don't blame him.
Which he'd forgotten when it started off. Oh, no problem, you know. But then as it got up there, the wind started to whistle a bit. And you don't want another take guy, do you? No, Sean.
Oh, dear. Again, going back to particularly that gold vault room, Ken Adams' production design, I mean, obviously I know by that time he's made many films, he's walked onto many film sets.
Well, the history is quite fun. We were shooting second unit in Miami. There was just Ken, myself, Ted Moore, cameraman, the three of us, and Harry. And we had the worst second unit ever of a camera assistant. I mean, it's unbelievable. We did all the work in Miami of the plates, long shots, the opening, all the stuff we could shoot of the auto crush, because there was no auto crush in UK at that time. And on the way back, we went to Fort Knox with Cubby. And can we go into the depository? No, you may not. Even the President of the United States is not allowed inside Fort Knox. Oh, why not? Because it's written into the Constitution in case he goes in and helps himself to... symbolically, he knocks on the door and says, I'm the President of the United States, may I come in? And they say, no, you may not, Mr. President, and goes away. The guy who ran the place, you've got to believe this, was Zero Mostel's brother-in-law. So we banged on the door and said, may we come in? He said, no, you may not. And we said, I mean, we just want to have a look around. We were at the fence, loaded with cameras, and Ken starts clicking away reference stills, because obviously we're going to have to build the front end at Pinewood. He says, you may not take photographs. So Ken goes into his dumb crouch, dumb act, and what, no photographs, and I'm going click, 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 whilst he argues with the gentleman. Cubby says, they're not allowed, oh, but I mean, you know, so, and we are clicking away like mad. Aircraft may not fly less than 1 million feet over Fort Knox. And we watched them go out for lunch, and we saw that the men had very big boots on because they're forever dropping ingots on their toes, and so they had these metal and it's really very, very dull. Talking about it, we discovered that there's no pictures of Fort Knox, so we could do what the hell we liked. Actually inside, it's got to look like Sing Sing, you know, little cells with little pallets and about that much gold on each, because you can't lift more than 10 bars. So Ken, make the inside fabulous. I mean, it's got to be Aladdin's cave, but nobody will not. I said, nobody's been in there. Nobody can say you're wrong. Go, man, go. So that's how we did that. And on the day when we shot the Pussy Galore's Flying Circus coming over, Zero Mostel's brother was going ape. I mean, we were coming over at 100 feet. Cubby was saying, no, it looks 1,000 to me. I mean, I was in the ridiculous.
I mean, when you walked onto that cellar, did you find it quite awesome in its size?
No, because you design these things. I mean, you have to plan. I mean, a set isn't just a thing that happens. Take it in its simplest. It's got to work for the scene. The distance between drive Ken mad. The bathroom doors got to be by the bed. Take for instance when in Goldfinger, when Bond has just slept with the little girl and gets cold-cocked by Oddjob. The relationship between the bed, the kitchen, the door, the shadow, I mean, this you design on bits of paper. And Ken said, but I can give you a lovely bedroom. I don't want a lovely bedroom. It's got to be, and so you design like an architect, you make the plan. Ken does some sketches of what the mood of the thing will look like. Yeah, fine, but how high is that? Because I need balconies for the stuntmen to fall off. But it spoils the whole thing if I put railings. They ain't going to jump. Why should they jump into space? They've got to have a thing. All right, I put. You spend hours planning the thing, and sometimes the art department have got to, you know, twiddle it round. You also have a problem that when you're writing the script, you always see a scene left to right, and the art director, when he reads the screen, sees it right to left. So you have to turn the whole set round before it's built.
What about the music score on the Bonds, and again, particularly Goldfinger? Was it a case of, there you go, John? You
No, I'd worked with John before. We'd done a picture which I'm glad to say was totally censored with Annie Ross and John. I'd done several pictures with John, Man in the Middle, with Mitchum. I got on very, very well with John. And I remember he came, I think, with Tony Newley, or maybe to my flat in Hyde Park Gate, and I said, Mac the Knife. This is long before Louis Armstrong. This is Mac the Knife is Goldfinger, and that hit a chord, and off they went. I always slap on a lot of music on the rough cut, because I'm a jazz buff and I've got a huge record collection on tapes and what have you, so I always transfer and we slam on music everywhere to the fury of the composer. And I said, but it sounds terrific, that's the arrangement there. John was always reluctant to use the Bond theme, which I always loved. I remember he wrote some music which did not work at all for the raid on Fort Knox. And he was very brilliant in immediately rescoring it at the orchestral section, removing instruments and just keeping to a thump, 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 much more simplistic things. John is a terrific composer, and we got on tremendously well. Till Diamonds. I remember I wasn't so happy with Diamonds because in Circus I wanted some real cornball circus music, and he said, but it'll sound terrible on the LP. And I said, I don't give a monkey's fuck about the LP. Would you please, John, write for the picture? And that's an awful tendency of composers these days to write for the LP.
I love that, it's good. Oh dear, the reason I'm very biased towards Goldfinger now is going to be, I'm working on a Manchester Secret Service as a special issue at the moment, but the next special that we do will be Goldfinger, just to explain what's Goldfinger biased. How closely did you work with Peter Hunt on Goldfinger?
Pretty closely. There was a minor problem in that all bonds open on the 24th of September at the Odeon Leicester Square at 9 o'clock. I mean, you know, there was a sort of fixed day that it just had to open. It was booked. Whether we'd finished the picture or not, that was totally immaterial. That you opened on the thing. And I said, I mean, it's one of these days you're going to be caught short and you're going to have the John Barry in the pit conducting because it's as close as that. The Fort Knox sequence hadn't been shot. Peter Hunt went over and it didn't work out, and I finished at Pinewood on the lot at Pinewood doing odd job, throwing hats in the dark and what have you. This is after 16, 15 weeks shooting, whatever it was. Ted Moore went off that night to Louisville, Kentucky. I didn't finish that night, so I went the following night, got off the plane in New York and down to Kentucky, where I met Cubby, his son-in-law, who was then 17 or something and still at school, and Ted and the camera, and that was it. We went up in an aeroplane the next day, in a helicopter, over the army barracks, which is next door. We had permission to shoot, they thought we were just doing aerial views of the barracks. Of course, we zoomed down onto these soldiers that were being lectured or marched or what have you. And as you zoom down in a helicopter, I mean, they all do that, or if there's a lecture, they all turn around and look. And when we landed to reload, we got screamed at. The general is saying there's a helicopter buzzing. We did that all morning and got chased away. In the afternoon, with some bung money, we got a sergeant and 40 men in his platoon, and we said, we'll pay you $20 each, and I had to remember where we'd been in the copper, so we got them all to sit round, and when I clap my hands, look at me, when I clap again, all fall down dead. And we rushed the platoon all over the place and shot it all in that afternoon. That's all we got. Pussy Galore's Flying Circus was hell because these were chopper crop dusting pilots, and they're all tough gentlemen. and we bought him a load of Woolworths blonde wigs, you know, to put on. So as you got up in the air, they all got cigars and these blonde wigs. Take your cigars out, and the moment they're in the air, they took their wigs off. So you're in the air saying lower, lower. So this is Zero Mostel going 8 below with these planes coming in. I'm going 8 because they've got cigars and they won't put their things on. And we are doing Pussy Galore's Flying Circus. The result of all that was got back to Pinewood, and the picture had to go for neck cutting in about a fortnight. We are in trouble, Peter. He says, yes, I know. He was racing through the front end. I was trying to put together the back end.
Let me just
The back-
sorry, one second. I'll just move the camera because guys move position.
Right, okay.
So, couple of seconds.
We've got a shadow there as well.
Do you want a complete change thing?
No, I'm
okay.
no,
It's just the shadow.
Is this the sort of rubbish you want?
This is great. This is great. This is far from rubbish. Believe me. Believe me.
Oh, it's so long ago that you know, I remember bits. And
But this is what, of course, a lot of people forget. That it is a long. You see, keeps watching these films over and over again, and you don't think that it's 30 years. I mean, I can't remember what I did last week, or 30 years ago. What's my name?
the rolling.
Yeah.
I do remember that Peter and I ran Cubby and Harry in the little theatre around the corner in Audley Square, The Cut. And the theory was that it then had to rush off to the labs to be neg cut. That was it, end of story. And Peter and I were convinced that we'd get another 3 days or something, because Bond arrives in Kentucky, Goldfinger. That hasn't really been cut, that's assembled, and there are several things in Goldfinger that could be mightily improved, and the lights went up at the end, and Cubby and Harry said, that's fine, get the thing off to the labs. And we said, but you can't, it's rough cut and so and so. And they said, ah, shit, it's fine. And that was it. I still, with Goldfinger, there are certain scenes where I walk out because I think the audience are going to boo and yell because it's obvious that, you know, so and so. You have that feeling on all pictures.
Ronald Brown, John, that did the credits on From Russia with Love. I mean, whose decision was it that he was going to do those Goldfinger style?
Brown John was a lovely, mad, lunatic American. I mean, he was quite a... I think he discovered pot before anybody else had. And he'd done a wonderful job on Russia, and the credits were the last things that were of interest to me at that stage in the proceedings. It was, we got the pre-credits, yes, there will be credits, and there's the picture. And delighted that Brown John, you know, I don't have to do anything there. He came and said, can I borrow a little girl that we'd used, a large little girl that we'd used in somewhere in the picture, and be my guest. And they look very good.
Margaret Noel.
No.
Yeah. Well, substantial young lady. One of the, if not, well, the most memorable gadget of all time that Bond is associated with, even to this day, is the Aston Martin DB5.
Ken Adam, I remember to start with, wasn't over keen on it. He thought it was silly. Then a long time, a car cannot do that. Ken, nobody's asking you what the car can do. That's what it's going to do. So, end of story. I talked to my son. He came up. I'm not sure the ejector seat. I'm not positive about that. But he had the things. But I was very keen on the revolving number plates because I thought I was forever getting parking tickets, and I thought, you know, it'd be absolutely marvellous to stand there and say thank you very much and drive off, press the button, and the thing. I mean, you know, it's obvious. Machine guns, very obvious. Everybody contributed to it. Of course, the car, Ben-Hur, the car was never designed or meant to ever have all these gadgets. This was always Ken's worry that no car, where does the ammunition go? Ken, the thing goes boing, out comes, and there'll be a prop that will cut the front off, and we'll have, you know, I'll stick the machine gun through myself and fire it. What are you worried about? But it is stupid. There is no, I mean, everything was the mechanics of how it would work. Smoke. I said, there'll be two prop men in the back with a gas mask on, and they'll have a hose and kick them, and they'll open and squirt. What is the problem? Gradually, it began to all fit together.
Right. We spoke earlier, actually, off camera, about the moon buggy. Perhaps you can tell us something about.
Yes, working with Tom Mankiewicz at Universal, we had an office there, and this was about 6 months, I think, before the first American astronauts had landed on the moon, and all day long you couldn't switch on television without these sort of phony documentaries of this is what it will look like when they land, and Uncle Sam will be the first on the moon, etc. And I got so bored with all this that I said, come on, Bond is going to be the first on the moon, going to play golf up there. And in 30 seconds flat, Tom and I had worked out how you got to a sort of Cape Canaveral situation, and how does he escape from there? Does he steal a car, a bicycle, a motorbike? No, we've done all that. How's about a moon buggy? And there was a little, the Americans showed you, looked like a flatbed with sort of rather big wheels and went about 1.5 miles an hour. It was rather boring. Ken designed us a moon buggy that goes as fast, but it cannot go fast on the moon. It has these. But Ken, he's got to get away from, and so the moon buggy came along. It's not my favourite prop.
There's Americans.
It's fairly Dutch.
There's a sequence in Diamonds Are Forever where the car goes up on two wheels, and it goes into the alleyway one way, it comes out the other way, but there is an insert shot which rectifies that. Is that something that wasn't noticed when the stunt guy was doing that?
It's a long story. A car chase. Oh, not again, for God's sake. I will not do anything in Bond unless it's a unique proposition. Now, there's nothing new under the screen, but you've got to, you know, find some way of gussing it up. I saw, again on television, there was a 6 o'clock show nationwide or something, where a Frenchman round an airfield went up on 2 wheels with a car and drove round I thought it was sensational. I mean, I'd never seen a car go up on two wheels and drive along round the perimeter of an airfield on a nice flat thing. With what object? But I mean, it's hellishly good. How can we now make that bond? I know. Supposing you have an alley that's too narrow and you're being chased and you get up on two wheels, you get down the alley and the cops would be, aha, yeah, that's what we're going to do. We are working out of Universal. Cubby, may we bring this French gentleman over? And the American Stunt Union go bananas and say you cannot bring a Frenchman to America. I mean, the Stunt Union are as tough as the Teamsters and what have you. Okay, bring me the stunt guy, because I loathe stuntmen. Bring me the guy who's going to drive this thing up on two wheels. And I'll see a demonstration outside my office tomorrow at 12 o'clock. That cooled them off because, of course, A, they'd never seen it, B, they'd never done it. But they hunted around and they found some American who was appearing with a show in Canada. Because they have a lot of these shows with Joey Chitwood and they're very, very good. They drive these cars and do stuff. Mostly T-burns through fire. They brought this guy down, and yes, he was doing it, but he did it wheelie side up. Sorry, wheelie side down. I said, what does wheelie side down mean? He said, well, the French guy, he's in the driving seat, and the driving seat is up there. I'm in the driving seat, but I have it like that. I said, well, it sounds more fun the other way up, but no, he said, no, I do it. Okay, we'll buy that. You know, because the car's going to look the same when it goes through the alley. We then have 3 Mustangs, red, which are the Bond cars, which Henry Ford very generously contributes to Bond at that period. And I walk out on the parking lot one morning around the back to go to work, and I see one of the Mustangs bashed up. So I send for the stunt gaffer and I said, no, he says, no, don't worry, guy, it's, no. We were just, I said, I know what you motherfuckers have been up to. You don't know how to do the stunt, you've been practicing, and the first idiot went over. He said, oh, guy, it's don't know. And that was exactly what had happened. And about 3 nights later, we're in night shooting, and I mean, this is the moment where it has to happen. I've got the alley, and the Mustang goes up the ramp, and the shot was, I didn't have to worry about the alley, it was coming out of the alley. So it goes up on the ramp and comes out this way, and then all the lights of Vegas as it goes back on 2 wheels. That is real agony, because I mean, it comes and it doesn't, it comes and it flops. I mean, they do not know how to do it. Dawn is coming up. God, you made the nights too short, the usual thing. And these raving idiots, and we just eventually get one shot where, I mean, it wobbles into picture, it just about falls, and goes off round the corner. No. The alley is going to be at Universal at night. Now we crash a series of cars. It's just a one-night shot. I'm there and letting all my spleen vent go at the stuntmen, at the stunt union, at Cubby, and saying it's your effing American unions. If you've got the guy that can do it, we're wasting time, money, so and so. Cool it, guy, and I have to dash back to Pinewood the next day. Cubby says, we've got a second unit, don't you worry, guy, you'll get the shot, it's important, I know. So we're shooting in Pinewood, whatever, picture carries on, and about 10 days later, Cubby says, after rushes, we got the shot of the second unit, the third, the ninth unit did ends. Okay, let's see it. In it comes, and the car's up that way. And Cubby says, hey, it's great, isn't it? I said, it's great. You can tell them to reshoot it immediately. They brought the car in, that side of camera, that away. And I got the shot of the car going away, that away. He said, there's no fucking way they're going to redo that shot. He said, we've already spent on this sodding thing. And I said, but Cubby, you can't use the sequence. You've got a car that way, whoever's in the car that way. He said, that's not your worrying, it's not. I'm not going to spend another sodden penny on this goddamn thing. And he went screaming and yelling and banging the door. And I said, we're stuck. There's no way we're going to spend any more money on that shot. Think, how do we do? How do you get a car that drives and goes that way and comes out the other way? Well, you know, we put the Mustang on a sort of roller, and Sean, you better say hang on tight or something, and nobody notices really, and you're going,
In fact, the strange thing about it is that there's a lot of people that pick up on that in books that they've written or articles, and they do pick it up as being a mistake, but they don't even notice. This is what's so silly about it. They don't notice the insert shot that corrects it.
yeah.
So
I mean, I had great fun with, I used to get hundreds of letters from little boys addressed to the director, Pinewood. Dear sir, I saw a picture. Bond takes off in the Aston Martin, and he's got radial DB5s, but when he arrives at so-and-so, he's got Mercury 126s or something. Yours very sincerely, John Brown. And the little bugger, of course, is absolutely right. But not to disappoint him, I always used to write back, Dear John, well done. There are 4 other deliberate mistakes, and if you can spot them, you can have a free lunch with James Bond at Pinewood. I mean, so all his mates buy 100 tickets and they're still...
brilliant. Right. What were Cubby and Harry like as producers to work? You know,
tremendous,
forward,
tremendous. Sadly, in the latter part, they had problems that are much too complex to go into, and so that there was a tendency for one to do one picture as the as the hands-on producer, and the next one would be Cubby would do it as the hands-on producer. But as hands-on producers, they were tremendous. I mean, really, really tremendous. I mean, they were there. And Cubby would carry water up the mountainside if tongues were hanging out, or would helicopter in beer if we needed it. You know, I mean that, and all you had to do was to convince them that the money you were about to spend, they were going to see on the screen in something that was exciting, and that you just weren't having a personal wank because you'd always wanted to do so-and-so. But if you could convince them that it was, and quite a few things were turned down, I might add. You know, I would say, I have a terrific idea, and one or t'other would say, that's not funny, or it's not Bondian. And the answer was no. But if you came up with where should we take Bond, was that when Tom and I sat down, that was always the problem. They'd been to the Bahamas, they'd been to Japan, where should we take Bond this time? And Tom said, well, you're a jazz freak, you'll love New Orleans, why don't you take him? I said, you know, Mardi Gras, I won't be there because you've got to shoot it on Mardi Gras and it's too bloody complicated, who needs it? I said, well, the jazz funerals. I said, oh yeah, that's, and in 10 minutes flat we'd worked out a jazz funeral, rushed across the road that night because we had to report what we were dreaming up, and Covey said, yeah, that's good, yeah, I like that. Harry said, you'll have to shoot that in New Orleans. And I said, oh, you're so right, Harry. I mean, you can't do that at Pinewood on the lot. I mean, you need the real, I said, yeah. So walk away with Tom, and he said, you told that very well, Guy. I said, Tom, what else is in New Orleans? Because they're going to wake up to the fact that we are schlepping 80 people to New Orleans for 1 minute screen time. Got to come up with some more stuff. Well, there's bayous, motorboat chase, but I've always hated lakes, you know, because there's no relationship between, you know, it's just wide open spaces, nothing. But bayous, you could make it look like Venice, you know, you've got a relationship between, you know where you are and how far, and off you go. Okay, now we've got enough, we'll go to New Orleans.
Jump back to the 40 bit. Returning to Bond with Diamonds Are Forever after a 7-year gap, did you find that the character of 007 had changed, and why haven't you been there within that 7-year gap?
Well, very simply because after Bond, after Goldfinger, I was asked to do Thunderball. Kevin McClory was an old mate of mine. I mean, we were in digs together. He was a boom operator on African Queen. I was the AD. I mean, we'd taken money off Houston playing poker. We knew our poker very well. And I said, apart from the fact that I was on a contract to Metro at the time, I said, I mean, I've got no more ideas about, I think you have to be very fresh to do a Bond, because otherwise you're going to be in danger of repeating yourself, or you've got to load your batteries up again. You don't dream up an Aston Martin, you know, like that. You've got to put in a lot of thought, and it's got to happen. And time went by. And I was asked to do Diamonds, because I'd been working for Harry in between. I'd done Funeral in Berlin or something like that. I'd always got on very well with Cubby and Harry.
When you came back to Diamonds, did you find that Sean Connery had changed as an actor?
Yes, I mean, tremendously polished, smooth. I mean, it was at the height of his powers.
And he always comes across as being supremely confident.
Yeah.
He is, yeah?
By the time I got to Diamonds, I mean, it was not the same actor as Goldfinger. Very nearly the difference was there for me.
I don't know whether you've seen the way that they cut the Bonds. The way they cut the Bonds on TV. I just wondered whether if you had any feelings about the way that ITV in fact do rather butcher them, because the last screening of Goldfinger, for instance, they cut the whole of the fighting sequence and execution in the bath. He comes in, sees the girl, kisses her, and then just walks out the door. That's the end of it.
You know, I think the French are the ones who've got this taped. They have what they call droit d'auteur, and they consider the director to be an author, and you are not allowed to touch 1 inch, nor is the producer, nor is anybody, nor is television. It's the copyright of all films. It's like colorization and all those things. Yeah, it's sad. It's sad. Um, but I mean, when you've seen Bond projected in cinemas, I mean, there's no screen that ever matches. I mean, I've seen, you know, where it's like that, or how much is cut off on the left or right. You hope to see a premiere of your picture once, with Dolby, with proper thing, and then after that you can't rush around the country. But I've heard Bond talk Japanese. I don't know whether it makes any sense at all. I can promise you, I speak Italian and French, and what they do, the director of dubbing normally doesn't speak English. It's not an advantage. When he directs the dubbing of a Bond picture, Pussy Galore, for instance, it's got to make people laugh, but translated into every other known language, it's nothing at all. So he's got to find, and you'll find Bond is saying, you know, Miss Chopsticks or something like that, which is a big yak in Korea. I had a picture with Cockney they can never cope with. So Ronnie Fraser was playing a Cockney corporal or something, quite a big part and funny. And I go and see it in Italy, and he's going, oh, good chick, and it make him gay, you know, because a gay English sergeant is absolutely cripples them in Italy. So, you know, don't be surprised when you see Bond in all sorts of places that the gags, the jokes are rewritten.
Particularly on Goldfinger, obviously, and the other Bond films as well. Did you work using storyboard? It doesn't sound as though you did very much.
No, I'm not a mad keen storyboard. Occasionally, where it involves other people, in other words, this is back projection, that's front projection, this is the model, that's on location, this is where we need a plate. Yes, when you get into a complex little sequence like that, yes. Otherwise, no, they don't mean much to me.
So you mostly hold what you want, it's there in your head, and you've got it's getting the picture from
Well, there's also, yeah, there's also, if you're not very careful, you find yourself with crosses on the floor. This is where the camera goes, and it's at that angle, and the next thing is you've got actors like this, you know, because it's all,
yes. It doesn't, in other words, what you're saying, it doesn't do to be so regimented. You've got to keep it free and work as it occurs to you at the time. Right. With the introduction of Roger Moore in Live and Let Die, directly after Diamonds, was it a conscious decision to tailor the films more to suit Roger's style?
yes, I think you have to, but I mean, not only for Bond. I think any film, your job as a director is to show off your actors to the best of their of your ability. They all have strengths and weaknesses. Cash in on the strengths and hide the weaknesses. Don't even write them into the script. I mean, I mean, if you've got Stallone, you use the muscles, don't you? You arrange that somehow he lost his shirt. There's nothing wrong with Roger's chest, but I wouldn't rush out of the, you know, have to write a scene of why he loses his shirt. Roger can't run. You have to be, and I mean that's he will tell you himself. It's an amazing performance when Roger runs. You can't believe it. But he can swim like a fish. He can do all sorts of other things. So you make sure that you don't get involved in foot races. He cash in on Roger's strengths, you know, which are he's lighter than Sean, obviously. I mean, you can't. And don't, for God's sake, make him play an imitation Sean.
Which is your personal favourite of the Bond? Which is your personal favourite of the Bond films you've directed?
I think, in all honesty, sequences. You know, because you always have sequences that could have been better. I mean, the misery of dubbing. There's nothing you can do about it except put noises on, and you're sitting there and it goes on endlessly, endlessly, endlessly. And you go, oh God, I knew what I should have done. I mean, if he'd have come in and she'd have done da-da, oh God, we'd have, And of course it's too late now. So from then on you hate that sequence.
What's your favourite Bond film directed by obviously another director?
I think Russia. I'm sure of it.
Obviously obvious strengths of characterisation.
Oh, I think it's yes, it's fresh and new. I think an awful lot of. I mean, you know, this is sour grapes, but I find the later Bonds are grossly repetitive. You know, they take the same action that worked tremendously well, and then they do it on a motorbike, they do it on roller skates, they do it on ice, they do it on, but it's the same goddamn thing. You haven't thought of a unique proposition.
Again, so perhaps by having the same director for 5 consecutive films, I think that goes to prove what I'm saying. You need somebody to slot into each and to bring freshness to it.
Yeah, there's another problem as well. I mean, partly why I didn't go on, made too many Bonds, but partly I wanted to go into new directions. And Cubby's right in saying, Guy, you know, you could be wrong, and if you're wrong, we kill the goose that lays the golden egg. I said, Cubby, you know, it's your goose, and you could be equally right. It's a very, and fortunately I don't have to make that decision. I just find making another Bond boring because we're stuck with formula and in the same patterns, and that's to me dull.
Yes, and I think that's another thing that a lot of people don't. It doesn't occur to them that the director wants to make lots of different types of films.
Yeah.
Doesn't want to be stuck in a room.
You see, Cubby again is right in the sense that you have a whole generation of kids today who don't know Sean Connery from the hole in the ground and think that he's a pleasant enough grandfather, but and in due time already yet Roger's in that position, and Daltrey will get there eventually. You get whole new kids from 8 till 80. Well, the ones, I mean, you meet people, Goldfinger, they were 8 when they saw it, and how old are they now?
See, this is the fascinating thing about the films, is that they've got such a unique history. Most of them, the majority of younger Bond fans, have never seen them in the cinema.
Correct. And you also have what I find a big yawn, because it's been done better in one of the earlier Bonds, to them seeing it for the first time is tremendous.
That's why, that's why at our events we try and show films as much as possible on the big screen, because
Yeah.
they haven't seen them and they love to see them on the big screen. One last list of questions I have here. Which of all your films would you like most to be remembered?
I suppose you've got to say Goldfinger, because you tend to like the films that, I mean, I'm very fond of Touch of Larceny with James Mason, where I worked hard on the script and it was my idea, and I feel very comfortable with that picture. I like it. It reflects more my style, my humour, my everything. But if people go and say, I just hope that I gave some pleasure somewhere along the way.
Guy Hamilton, thank you very much.